But it turned out that he worked at Sloane Square, a very sort of hishy part of London, and he was a trainee banker. That's right.
Yep, you got the letters right.
Trainee banker. It was a respectable proposition in those days, not like now. He said to me, I'm going to see a flat in BP, Bedford Park, which is near Turnham Green Station, for my job. Would you like to come with me and see it? Well, I thought, it's late, it's a Sunday evening, do I really want... Yes, I do. I do want to go and see this place that the young Roland Thomas had found. And so, I bit the bait and went to Bedford Park and was shown by Roland into a room, into an attic room with a sloping roof.
That's right. It was about as big as this.
In a red bricked house in BP. I recall my response to the sloping roof was, that would be a problem for me, I said. It would not be a problem for me. We wind on the years to memory number 2.
That was 2 guineas a week. 2 guineas a week, that was. She was Polish. She was Polish. She hadn't quite got currency.
I think we next met when you were living in Wellesley Road, which is half a mile to the west of BP. And he was a young man, as I said, who was studying to become a banker. And this was, unlike now, a respectable career to enter.
You keep saying that. You keep saying that. What do you mean?
However, further study was called for. It was the hallmark of a person determined to make his way in the world. Study. And I recall he spoke of 2 people called Joy and Frank helping him find space to study. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do, yes.
You do.
Yeah.
And more disturbingly, later on, I heard him talk about his fondness for a married woman. A woman.
Coming out!
Have you finished?
Coming out!
A woman called Mrs. Mack. Coming back now.
Oh, sorry, that's no, sorry.
I met Mrs. Mack once. She was rather gaunt, somewhat slim, and with that Scottish Mack, she was no doubt canny. I did not anticipate any hanky-panky in the face of such dourness. That's true, Roland.
Well, she was 50 years older than me.
At this stage, Roland, too, revealed his canny side. He was determined to own his very own place in which to live. And I remember in those days his research took him to the end of various railway lines into London. And perhaps that is why he started to follow the Harrow Rambles recently. But the words "Go West, young man" gave way to Reading, which in turn gave way to Wokingham, and finally gave way to the delightful Moss Cottage in Forest Road. Isn't that true?
That's true. That's true.
He was a happy buyer at the time.
Just round the corner for those that don't know.
So the fourth point I remember is my asking Roland Thomas, in extremis it must be said, if we could take our summer holidays in the delightful Moss Cottage. Do you remember that?
I do. And somebody had smelly feet.
We
I've never mentioned this before.
Roland was happy to oblige because we would swap houses. We live in Chiswick, which is much nearer to Sloane Square than Moss Cottage, and we would get out of London to be in Moss Cottage, which is countryside. And we were very, very grateful. Marion, isn't that true? Where's Marion, my wife? Where is she? Just wave your hand, Marion. There you are. I'm sure you'll correct me if I say anything wrong. So we did a house swap, and then Roland was able to go up the road, get on a train, on the district line and be at Sloane Square, where I'm sure he entertained rather respectable dowagers and their healthy sums of money in the bank.
Well, entertain should be the wrong word there. I looked after.
John and Katie, our two children, were very happy on that holiday, I recall. We have a photograph of Katie, I think, playing with various things in Roland's house. And I do recall the presence of a rather strange burn mark on the green carpet in Moss Cottage. You see the head drop there.
I remember that.
Yes, it was a neglected iron that I believe Roland had left on the carpet. He used to sort of...
Well, I hadn't got an ironing board. I didn't have an ironing board.
You didn't have one?
No. Mike Hockey helped me lay the carpet, and it looked superb. And I think the next day there was an iron mark.
So sad. And I remember looking at this burnt iron mark on a green carpet and thinking, that which I have done, I should not have done. And that which I have done, I should not have done. Or something like that. A painful reminder, nevertheless, of sins of omission and sins of commission. Now then, we move on to the hiatus point, point 5. This time, when I met Roland, it would be the 80s or the 90s, the 80s I think, he was troubled. He was very troubled. I was very concerned. What's the problem, Roland? And his talk was of the French. I'm still troubled. And not only the French, the Anjou. And the whole business of meeting on railway stations in Paris and in London. It was Carnforth with a Gallic twist. Eventually he put a name to this torment, and it was Colette. Ah, la différence. When love makes two people come together and go apart and come together, you know what it's like, the oscillations when you're young. He was attracted, this young man is attracted to the finer things of life. Just look around you, look at yourselves. He had found this delightfully insouciant and feminine Colette. She was a girlfriend par excellence, a classy lady with winning ways. Don't you agree, Roland?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. She must be a babe.
And a quiet, softly spoken authority.
Oh, she has changed.
All in all, Colette has an attractive winsomeness. They were married. And there was an excellent outcome after so much soul searching. Are you happy, Roland?
Very. Very.
We move on to point 6. The more prosaic nature of our conversation is displayed, if I use the phrase, insurance products. Roland had moved into insurance products now. He no longer worked in a bank in Sloane Square with dowagers and their largesse. Rather, he worked in the countryside with people who had a bit of money, who were arriviste, wanted a bit of insurance, that the good times would carry on. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And so, in that beautiful, bucolic time, Lucy and Adele were born and had to be brought up. Not in Moss Cottage, oh no, that was not good enough. He had to build a superb house. And so that is why the lovely Colette had to spend 2 years in a caravan while Roland constructed this whole house. Yes, Roland constructed this house.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, no. That was, no.